Hi, I'm Esty, and I welcome you to this Realized Grace study on Celtic Christianity. This is session 2 of our study, and we're continuing to explore how the Celtic Christian tradition helps us to recognize and embody God's grace in our lives. Today, we are turning to a prominent person in the Celtic Christian tradition. His name is Pelagius. You may have heard of him before and heard that he is a heretic, but fear not. Before we dismiss him out of hand and cast him aside as Christians have done for centuries, I invite us to hear what Pelagius has to say. His ideas resonated deeply in the Celtic Church, and I'd like for you to hear from him. Pelagius was a monk from the British Islands who lived in the 4th and 5th centuries CE. Pelagius was an ascetic, a person who lived a very simple, disciplined life. Ascetics generally abstained from worldly pleasures in order to follow Christ more closely. Many ascetics of that time believed that holiness required retreating from the world. They would go away and they'd become hermits, convinced that real life was just too messy to be like Christ. But Pelagius disagreed. He insisted that the presence of Christ belongs in the world, in daily life, in community, in conversation. At some point, Pelagius journeyed from his home in the British Islands to Rome, which was then the heart of the Christian world. And what Pelagius found in Rome really troubled him. The Roman elite were kind of Christians in name only. Christianity had not long been the official religion of the Roman Empire. They were probably just Christian because that's what the emperor said they should do. And they weren't living Christ-like lives at all. Pelagius called this out. He called out their hypocrisy and he called them to genuine discipleship. As you might guess, this did not win him many friends, especially with a powerful bishop named Augustine, or as we know him today, Saint Augustine. The clash between Augustine and Pelagius would shape Christian theology for centuries. So what exactly did Pelagius teach that caused such controversy? First, Pelagius taught that creation is good. Pelagius began where Genesis begins, with goodness. Genesis chapter 1 repeats the refrain, and God saw that it was good. And then on the last day of creation, the refrain comes to this crescendo, and Genesis says that God saw all that he had created, and it was very good. Pelagius saw creation as a reflection of God's goodness. Creation is imperfect, yes, but it is still capable of revealing divine beauty. Augustine emphasized original sin, and Pelagius pointed to original goodness. He believed that creation bears the beauty and the intention of its creator. Pelagius was not naive about sin. He wouldn't discount it, but he still saw the world as capable of revealing God's glory. The world is good. Creation is good. So that's Pelagius' first idea. His second core teaching is that humanity is good. Pelagius believed that people are created in the image of God. Augustine began with total depravity, and Pelagius insisted that we begin with dignity. Yes, humans sin. Yes, we turn away. but at our core is not corruption. At our core, Pelagius taught, is the divine image. We carry within us the potential for good because we were made by a good God. We bear that good image. This idea deeply influenced the Celtic Church, which treated all people with profound respect, not just elite people, not just the baptized, but everyone. Everyone is an image bearer of God. Number 3, third teaching of Pelagius is that we humans are responsible to do good. And this is the idea that really stirred trouble. Pelagius taught that because we are created in God's image and because we are graced with the ability to choose, we are responsible to do good. Pelagius believed that grace enables us to respond, to act, to partner with God in living a life that reflects Christ. Augustine was concerned by this emphasis. He feared that Pelagius was claiming that we could save ourselves, that we don't need grace. But that's not what Pelagius was saying. He never denied our need for God. He simply refused to believe that humanity is helpless. Pelagius believed that divine grace empowers human agency. God's grace makes us capable of choosing to do good. And that belief led to Pelagius' downfall. Augustine had enormous influence in those days, and he began to campaign against Pelagius. Not everybody was in agreement. Some people were like, this guy, Pelagius, he's fine. What is your deal, Augustine? So a couple of early church councils initially cleared Pelagius of any kind of charge of heresy, but Augustine just wouldn't let up. He eventually convinced Pope Innocent I to condemn Pelagius. Now, this is interesting. That condemnation was reversed by the next pope, but Augustine kept at it, kept putting on political pressure. He influenced the Roman emperor, and that ultimately led to Pelagius' official condemnation as a heretic in the year 418. And then the Council of Ephesus reaffirmed this charge of heresy in 431, and from then on, the label heretic stuck. And heresy is what we associate with Pelagius even today. When we say his name, kind of our automatic thought is heretic. For over 1,000 years, just about everything we knew about Pelagius came from his critics, came from Augustine. Didn't have his writings, we didn't have his own words, we just had what Augustine said about him. But then in the 19th century, scholars rediscovered Pelagius' original writings. And his own words revealed something different. He's not a rebel, he's not a troublemaker. He's a deeply faithful man who, like a lot of other people in those days, is trying to do theology, to think about God and how humans are in relationship to our Creator. So what can we take from Pelagius today? We can cast him off like a heretic, like we cast off other people whose views we don't agree with. Or we can respect him. We can listen to what he's trying to teach us. He's trying to teach us to cherish the created world. This world is a reflection of God's goodness. Remember, God made it, and God said that it is very good. Second, we can treat every person we meet with honor and respect because all people are created in the image of God. And third, I believe Pelagius teaches us to live out our faith, not just as passive recipients of God's grace, but remember, God's grace empowers humans to do good. We live out our faith as active participants in God's work in the world. So as we close this session, I would just encourage you to consider Pelagius not as a voice to be feared, but as a voice worth hearing, a voice that reminds us we are beloved and capable and called. You are made in God's image. You are part of God's good creation. And by grace, you are empowered to reflect that goodness in the world, to be God's grace for other people. This week, may you walk with confidence in your belovedness, with courage to live out your calling. Not because you should, not because you need to somehow get God's seal of approval, but because God has already called you. Very good. God loves you. God empowers you to do good in this world. Thank you so much for joining me for this second session in this study on Celtic Christianity. If you're watching this video with a group, I encourage you to download the discussion guide on my website. Talk together, talk about the ideas in this study that I shared, talk about what you agree with, what you don't agree with, what questions you have, what's bubbling inside of you as you realize grace.